Yeah, yeah, Well, I marched through the storm, and I marched through the rain, and I marched through some sickness, through heartache and pain. I laid down on the ground, looked up at the sky, and I prayed in my misery, and then I asked why. Now sometimes I get tired, but I'm not through marching yet. I will march till I die, on that you can bet. I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Granddaddy marched, and my grandmama too. Never thought I'd still be marching, it's what we must do. I'll march when I must, I'm on a mission, you see. And I know one day my children might be marching for me. I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Well, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Yeah. Freedom land. Now I believe in the power of raising my voice, and I believe in the power of making some noise. If I die, I can't sing, and if I can't sing, I'll die. So let's sing for one another as we give it a try. I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. about the world today. Oh, glory, hallelujah. Got a lot on my mind, but I'm blessed to say, glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. We're all living in a world turned upside down. Oh, glory, hallelujah. Gonna take some time to turn it around. Glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Oh, mama, it's a long, long road. You got me singing with the seed you sowed. It's up to me, so come what may. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. We got a world of trouble and a world of pain. Oh, glory, hallelujah. They keep spinning the truth in freedom's name. Glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. When the haters pull up, I just sing my song. Oh, glory, hallelujah. Keeps my mind on track, keeps my spirit strong. Glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Oh, mama, it's a long, long road. You got me singing with the seed you sowed. It's up to me, so come what may. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. All by myself. Oh, glory, hallelujah. It's a long, hard journey, gonna need some help. Glory, oh, mama, it's a long, long road. You got me singing with the seed you sowed. It's up to me, so come what may. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. All by myself. Oh, glory, hallelujah. It's a long, hard journey, gonna need some help. Glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Well, I'm sitting here thinking about the world today. Oh, glory, hallelujah. Got friends by my side and I'm blessed to say, glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Oh, mama, it's a long, long road. You got me singing with the seed you sowed. It's up to me, so come one day. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. Oh, 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 mama, it's a long, long road. You got me singing with the seed you sowed. It's up to me, so come what may. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way.
you are welcome here.
No matter your religious beliefs or lack of belief, you are welcome here.
No matter your age, sex, sexual orientation, or gender identity, you are welcome here.
No importa tu ciudadanía, tú estás bienvenido aquí.
No matter your citizenship, politics,
or relationship status.
No matter your physical characteristics or health, you are welcome here.
Whoever you are, wherever you are from,
you are welcome in this place.
Good morning, and welcome to the regular online worship of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Montgomery. Speaking to you from Montgomery, Alabama, on the land of the Muskogee Creek people. And I want to make a special welcome this morning to the folks from the UU Church of Chattanooga, situated on the land of the East Band of the Cherokee people. For those who celebrate, I wish you a happy Independence Day, and much gratitude for those who attended our annual meeting, gratitude to those who have served a term of office and are now rotating out, gratitude to those who are continuing in their office, and much gratitude to those who have accepted nomination and are entering into a role for the coming term. If you're not sure who got elected or what else happened, keep an eye on your beacon. The new and current officers are in the most recent beacon, and there will be more information coming in emails from me as well as the regular beacon in the next couple of weeks. There are always openings, needs for servant leaders in our congregation. You'll be seeing listings of a few of those in your emails as well. If there's something that you're interested in that you don't see listed, give a shout. We have need for something that you love to do. I'd like to invite you into this hour of worship this morning with words from the great Unitarian scholar and prophet James Luther Adams. The free church is the community in which the living spirit of faith tries to create and mold life-giving, life-transforming beliefs. The community in which persons open themselves to God and each other, and to commanding, sustaining, transforming experiences from the past, appropriating, criticizing, and transforming tradition, and giving that tradition, as well as newborn faith, the occasion to become relevant to the needs of a time. I invite all who would like to join us in speaking aloud our congregational covenant. We, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Montgomery, promise to serve our community with open minds, willing hearts, and helping hands as we respect one another, honoring that our perceptions may differ, value our differences, working to better understand them in conflict, give joyfully of ourselves, being in harmony with our capabilities, and embrace our connections with each other, nature, the global community, and the great mystery of life. Now let's hear from our coordinator of religious education, Roger Burdette, with A Time for All Ages.
Hey, let's try out a brand new book. Welcome to Time for All Ages. Recently, I went to the Legacy Museum here in town, and they've got a pretty good selection of books. And I bought a few, and this is one of them. The Other Side by Jacqueline Woodson, illustrated by E.B. Lewis. I have not read ahead. I want to uncover this with you. Let's get some context clues. Let's take a look at the cover. What do we see? We see a couple of girls. One is black, one appears to be white. They are separated by a fence. They look like they're out in the country. On the back, we see the words, "An unforgettable story of the power of friendship." What a great metaphor Woodson has created for knocking down old beliefs and barriers that keep people apart. Even young children will understand the fence metaphor, and they will enjoy the quiet friendship drama. Let's go ahead and jump into the story. So we open up to a nice country scene. That summer, the fence that stretched through our town seemed bigger. We lived in a yellow house on one side of it. White people lived on the other. Mama said, "Don't you climb over that fence when you play." She said it was not safe. Well, that summer there was a girl who wore a pink sweater. Every morning she climbed up on the fence and she stared over at our side. Sometimes I stared back. She never got on the fence with anybody. That girl didn't. Once when we were jumping rope, she asked if she could play. "Hey, can I play?" My friend Sandra said no, without even asking the rest of us. I don't know what I would have said. Maybe yes, maybe no. Ooh, look at this picture. The two girls walking through town, apparently with their mothers, looking at each other. Well, that summer, everyone and everything on the other side of that fence seemed so far away. When I asked my mama why, she said, "Because that's the way things have always been." Sometimes when me and Mama went into town, I saw that girl with her mama. She looked sad sometimes, that girl did. "Don't stare," my mama said. "It's not polite." It rained a whole lot that summer. On rainy days, that girl sat on the fence in a raincoat. She let herself get all wet and acted like she didn't even care. Sometimes I saw her dancing around in puddles, just splashing and laughing. Well, my mama would not let me go out in the rain. "That's why I bought you rainy day toys," my mama said. "You stay inside here where it's warm and safe and dry." But every time it rained, I looked for that girl, and I always found her somewhere near the fence. Well, someplace in the middle of the summer, the rain stopped, and I walked outside. The grass was damp, and the sun was already high up in the sky, and I stood there with my hands up in the air, and I felt brave that day. I felt free. Ooh, look at this picture. They're getting closer together. I got close to the fence, and that girl asked me my name. "Clover," I said. "My name's Annie," she said. "Annie Paul. I live over yonder," she said. "By where you see the laundry, that's my blouse hanging on the line." And then she smiled. She had a pretty smile. And then I smiled, and we stood there looking at each other, just smiling. "It's nice up on this fence," said Annie. "You can see all over." I ran my hand along the fence, and then I reached up to the top, and I touched it. "A fence like this was made for sitting on," said Annie. She looked at me sideways. "Well, my mama says I shouldn't go on the other side," I said. "My mama says the same thing," she said. "But she never said nothing about sitting on it." "Neither did mine," I said. Look at that, getting a little closer, pushing the boundaries. Well, that summer, Me and Annie sat together on that fence. And when Sandra and them looked at me funny, I just made believe that I didn't care. Now notice she said, I made believe I didn't care. She was probably conflicted, but I made believe I didn't care. I like it. Some mornings, my mama watched us. I waited for her to tell me to get down from that fence before I break my neck or something, but she never did. Well, I see you made a new friend, she said one morning. And I nodded, and Mama smiled. That summer, me and Annie sat on that fence, and we watched the whole wide world move around us. Well, one day, Sandra and them were jumping rope near the fence, and we asked if we could play. That's significant. We, a black girl and a white girl, asked if we could play with a bunch of other black girls. Now that may not seem like a big deal to you, but in this time and place, that was really pushing it. I don't care, said Sandra. And then we jumped. And when we jumped, Sandra and me were partners, the way we used to be. When we were too tired to jump anymore, we sat up on that fence, all of us, in a long line. Someday, somebody's going to come along and they're going to knock this old fence down, said Annie. And I nodded, yeah. I said, someday. And now we get to the metaphor. I remember earlier I said something about the fence being a metaphor. I won't try to explain it. One day somebody's going to knock this fence down. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll get over to the Legacy Museum and maybe find a book for yourself. And I wish you a really, really good week.
In each service, we take a moment to lift up and let go the things that we carry with us through the week. I especially want to lift up right now the people of Surfside, Florida, in that awful suffering of the building collapse and all of the loss and horror bound up in that. I want to celebrate the moratorium on executions in the federal system. We lift up those who are in positions of power, those with the ability to make decisions that affect the lives of others. It is our hope and prayer that they will be guided by conscience and wisdom in all that they do. For those who suffer with illness, for those who struggle with financial insecurity, food insecurity, employment uncertainty, for all of the struggles and difficulties that people face in their daily lives. We think especially of those that we know, those in our congregation, our families and friends, also those whom we do not know. I invite you now to use the chat that is adjacent to the video screen and type whatever is on your heart this morning, that we may be in fellowship together at this time, that we may know each other's presence, that we may sense our connections to one another.
Unidos en el misterio de la hora, unidos ya en un gran cuerpo, unidos ya en la lucha triunfadora, Espíritu ven.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body. body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Unidos en el misterio de la hora. Unidos ya en el misterio de la hora. Unidos ya en la lucha triunfadora. Espíritu ya en la lucha triunfadora. Gather here in the mystery of the hour. Gather here in the mystery of the hour. Gather here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Spirit, draw near. Spirit, draw near.
Now, over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking a little bit about General Assembly. I think most people probably know kind of what it is, but only a very few actually know. It's a thing that you have to experience to know. If you're not one for conventions, it can sound like drudgery, but let me assure you, it is an inspiring and encouraging and enlivening and renewing experience. So I asked those who attended with me if they would like to share a little bit about their own experience. Two of them said yes. So let's start by hearing from our new congregation president and one of our 2 member delegates, Felicia Wilburn.
Hello, UUFM family and friends. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Felicia Wilburn. I have been attending the UUFM since 2009, and I've been a member of UUFM since about 2012. And during that time, I had heard of General Assembly, but I had not attended General Assembly because of 2 reasons. One was the cost of travel and lodging, and the other was that I just didn't understand the benefits of going to GA. To be honest with you, I felt a little separated from the Unitarian Universalist Association on a national level because there was a sentiment of mistrust of outside authority in our congregation. And you know, us UUs, we don't like for anybody to tell us what to do. So that was a reality, and I sort of bought into that. However, last year, due to the pandemic, General Assembly was held completely virtually, and therefore there was no cost for travel and lodging. And I took that opportunity and decided that I wanted to attend. And it's interesting because in my professional life, I've always been a part of national organizations and gone to conferences every year. And one of the best things about going to those conferences was meeting the people across the country who were dealing with the same issues that I was dealing with, that were doing the same things that I was dealing with, and connecting with them, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that they've tried some things that worked and didn't work, and maybe you could bring some ideas back and maybe they'll work and maybe they won't work. But it was a community. So the same thing happened when I went to General Assembly. And last year I learned about resources that I didn't know were available. And I I wished that I had gone to GA sooner, more years ago than just last year. One of the resources that I connected with and have gotten involved with over the last year, since last GA, is DRUM, which stands for Diverse and Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministry. DRUUMM. And that has been beneficial to me in small ways, and I look forward to it being beneficial to me in more ways upcoming. So this year's GA, a couple of the things that happen at GA is one is there are worship services and workshops, and a lot of those provided a lot of inspiration for me, learning about things that I didn't know about, exposure to cultures and practices that I hadn't been aware of before. And that's always exciting to me, as well as learning about other sections of UU organizations that you can become involved with. For instance, UU Ministry for the Earth, as an example. So my takeaways from this year's GA, I have to be honest, one thing that was a little disappointing to me this year was that we didn't even get to all of the business items because we had to take so much time, or I should say they had to take so much time reminding people to be courteous to each other and to respect each other's need for safe space, and respect each other's language that they want to be used, specifically around the disability community, and things like that. And honestly, I felt like, hey, we're UUs. We're supposed to be doing this, right? But, it turns out we're actually all still human, and we all still can learn and grow. And so I look forward to taking what I learned at UU and at General Assembly for the UUA and using it in our congregation, UUFM, to become a more life-affirming congregation and to just move forward and to take advantage of the resources that UUA offers. It's not an authority. They're not here to tell us what to do. They're here to support us in doing what we already do. Thank you.
Now, as Felicia mentioned, the association does make a wealth of resources available to congregations. Some of it is professionally prepared and published, but the bulk are the work of local congregations and individuals within congregations who just want to share the benefits of what they are doing and what they are learning with the larger UU community. Many people don't participate in GA because it is the time when the business of the association is conducted. So it can seem like just a whole bunch of opinionated people arguing over trivial points under parliamentary procedure. And yeah, you do have to sit through some of that because the business meetings is where the voting takes place. And the delegates vote on critical matters that are before the assembly. But the more I go, the less I even notice any of that. The power of General Assembly comes through the workshops, the presentations, and the worship experiences. These are the places where we go to experience the enormous wisdom, the depth of understanding, and the strength of commitment that exists among fellow UUs around the world. Ruth DeRamus this year chose to attend as a non-delegate, meaning she didn't have to be concerned with what votes were happening at what time. So she got to take in and participate in whatever moved her spirit on the agenda. So let's hear what she has to say.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ruth DeRamus. I had the sheer pleasure of attending Unitarian Universalist General Assembly 2021 last month. It was entirely joyful. It was everything that I expected it to be and more. Now, many of you know I've been a Unitarian Universalist for a long time, but going to GA has never been convenient or whatever. So the answer always was next year. Well, 2021 was my year. I went expecting to be enlightened. I was more than enlightened. I was illuminated. It was wonderful to be immersed in the feeling of acceptance and folk who look like you, think like you, act like you, believe in things like you do. Not like it is here in Montgomery, Alabama. I was really, really impressed with 3 aspects of GA this time. Being a long-time Unitarian Universalist, it has always been a male-dominated society where males made the decision and women were politely asked to sit in. Since, I guess Morales, I'm not really certain when it came, but I know it did come after Morales. Since Morales, we had this widening of the circle, and this widening of the circle included women. Women of all ages, descriptions, colors, whatever. They were there and in leadership positions. These women have been encouraged to go in this widening circle, to meet among themselves and caucus among themselves, and then caucus also with the Unitarian Universalism at large. The second thing that I was most impressed with was the widening of that circle that they call it. It included Black people, indigenous people, and people of color. There were all kinds of folk everywhere doing everything. And the BIPOPs, that's what they call themselves. They've been encouraged to meet and caucus among themselves and then caucus with the church at large. And that was just seriously blew my mind. But the last thing, the third thing that really impressed me was in that widening of that circle to include young people. Young people have been encouraged to caucus among themselves and spread themselves out into the larger community. All 3 of these groups have infiltrated the whole of Unitarian Universalism, making it live up to its widening circle, inclusion, and everything that has to do with those 7 principles. Now, let me say that Reverend Lynn, it did represent Montgomery, Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Montgomery, very well, with her presentation with this lady from Colorado. And of course, Reverend Lynn did a good job, and we would expect nothing less. I am encouraging each of you to go in on Facebook and look at and see what the Unitarian Universalists have done in their 2021 meeting. And anybody who's interested, we're going to have another one next year in June. And it's going to be in Portland, I believe, or you can do it online. So like me, you might not have an excuse for next year. It was good. It was really, really good. And I feel engulfed in the flame of the chalice and really ready to go and do some good Unitarian Universalist stuff. Thank you and have a good day.
So the non-business portion has always been the highlight of General Assembly. The opening and closing is grand spectacle. In addition to the opening and closing worship, each day there are worship services with particular focus or theme. One of the pre-recorded services this time was a service presented by the Chalice Dancers of Paint Branch UU in Maryland. You don't know what you're going to find when you get there, but it's always going to be interesting and inspiring. With the online assembly format, so much more of that content is available to us. I've often had the experience of going to a conference and finding that every session I really want to attend is scheduled for the exact same block of time. But now the workshops are either created in advance on video, or if they're held live, they are recorded so that everyone who attends General Assembly has the opportunity to experience what most otherwise might have missed. And so much is generously shared with anyone who comes. Here are a few of the things that I brought back from General Assembly this year. First of all, you may not realize, I didn't realize the extent to which this is true. Unitarian Universalism is going strong in the Philippines. And in a nation of over 100 languages, in several different alphabets, forms of writing, they've got some things to teach us all about communication across cultural boundaries. With a growing number of members of Unitarian Universalism coming out of cultures that are not dominated by Christianity, we have so much unexplored richness from the insights offered by Islam, Shinto, Yoruba, and other religious traditions. And I found it's not just me. Many people are yearning for ritual. And rituals are being developed out of the diversity of traditions and experience of members around the world and shared with all of us. Now, finally, I think the most significant thing that I knew, but it was brought to my attention in a powerful way, is that although we've gained a great deal of versatility and flexibility in our year and a half of doing online worship, a critical aspect of worship in liberal religion that was already too often neglected has been virtually obliterated in our practice. We have all but forgotten that worship is not theater. It is not a performance to be taken in. It is not something that the minister does and everybody else watches. The entire congregation engages in worship collectively. Now, I haven't figured out how to engage this truth online. So far, when I've solicited video contributions, the response has only been about 1 in 10, and that's not how many people said yes out of those I asked. That's how many responded with video out of those who said yes. So incorporating more activity and contributions from different voices in our congregation has been difficult for me over this last long period of pandemic. But I am working on ways to engage this when we come together. I'm developing a number of ideas for our in-person gathering beginning the second week of September. And you know, it's not just worship that is participatory. Everything in our congregation is. The worship planning, the religious education, finance, building maintenance, social media, everything requires members to make it happen, and only those who show up are likely to find their voices represented. Now you use, including me, maybe you too, I don't know, but you historically have been really expert at finding fault, at seeing what's wrong and what's missing. But in all the griping about what we don't like, it won't make any difference if we, including me, don't show up with ideas or suggestions and the willingness to make it real. I know you have feelings about the service, and I'll bet you have thoughts too. So all of those who wish to see their voices, their experience, their backgrounds, their perspectives represented need only step up. Worship is a participatory, collective activity. And I want to hear from you. And I know your fellow members and friends want to hear from you too. So, when we come back in September, and yeah, there's been some tough news on COVID for Alabama lately, but I still expect that we will be back on the second Sunday in September, the Sunday after Labor Day, for AIM gathering. Let's work together on living into the collective enterprise, the congregational life that we envision and proclaim in our mission and in our covenant. We have everything we need right here. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Let's make it happen.
Spirit of truth, be held upon the mountain. Stay in our hearts as we abide below. Give us to hear the rustle of thy garment. Grant us to feel thy shadow drawing near. So may we find the strength to stand face forward, courage to walk into the dawning day. Spirit of truth, be held upon the mountain. Stay in our hearts as we abide below. Give us to hear the rustle of thy garment. Grant us to feel thy shadow drawing near. So may we find the strength to stand face forward, courage to walk into the dawning day.
For the first time this year, I had some small speaking parts at General Assembly. I assisted with and contributed a little to a video about recovery, housing, across the gender spectrum. And I also had the chance to testify on one of the actions of immediate witness. The actions of immediate witness occur at every General Assembly, and they are statements made by those who are gathered in that space at that time. They are not official policy of the association. They are simply resolutions that come out of the General Assembly. They aren't prepared in advance with considerable attention to details because they require a number of elements. One of those elements is that they require specific action steps that each congregation and member can take in response to these. There were 3 of them passed this year, and there were some other votes that were encouraging to me, as well as some procedural elements, process changes laid out in the bylaws. But it's the actions of immediate witness that usually generate the most attention and the most discussion every year. And this year was no exception to that. So that's what I want to talk about during second hour today. What you use around the world have resolved after coming together in General Assembly. What is foremost on our minds, in our hearts, on our list of priorities? What are the things that require the attention of Unitarian Universalists dedicated to principles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7? What are those things? Come to second hour, let's talk about what those are and how we might respond if we choose to. Now, during the week, we've got a bunch of stuff going on, as usual. On Monday night, the book study has its regular first Monday engagement. Wednesday night, UU&U is online as usual after 2 consecutive weeks off engaged with other things. I'm coming back and we're going to continue our conversation about UU basics. The anti-gun violence campaign of Faith in Action Alabama, the Peacemakers Montgomery, is ramping up, and we've got some events going on, so watch your email for that. We have, as usual, the ASL on Tuesday night and the yoga in the building on Thursday night with Calais. Next week, second Sunday, we gather again in the fellowship hall, in person, face to face. Obviously, if you're not fully vaccinated, we would ask that you join us from home. It will be on Facebook Live again. We have worked out a few more of the technical bugs. I assure you, by the time we don't have to do this anymore, I'll know how to do it right. For now, our service has ended. May our service begin.
And I wanna break from the bonds that hold me. Yes, I want to break them. Isn't it time? And I wanna rest till the rest of us are free. Till the last is the next in line. And I wanna bring my sisters with me. Yes, I want to bring them. Isn't it time? And I wanna rest till the rest of us are free. Till the last is the next last in line. Let's talk of freedom, let's talk of rights. What's that mean when you're stuck in a fight? Just fighting for a place at the end of a long, long line. And I wanna thank those who came before me, for doing for me. Yes, I wanna thank them. Isn't it time? 'Cause they wouldn't rest till the rest of us are free. Till the last is the next in line. Let's talk of freedom, let's talk of rights. What's that mean when you're stuck in a fight? Just fighting for a place at the end of a long, long line. I wait for the day when oppression will cease.